Congressman Richard Neal weighs in on the issue of a casino in Springfield, as the November vote that could strike down a law licensing the casino quickly approaches. One of the largest physician groups in Western Mass, also owners of an urgent care center here in East Longmeadow, files for bankruptcy. We have the latest. And it's back to work for the Spartans after a convincing win against Holyoke on Friday night. We have the highlights and a look ahead to the boys' last home game of the regular season. Those stories just ahead on ELCAT News Update. Good evening, I'm May Randall. We begin tonight with the clock ticking until the polls open on November 4th. One of the most polarizing issues is the vote to either uphold or strike down a 2011 law licensing up to 3 resort casinos in Massachusetts, one of which, as you know, is an $800 million casino MGM wants to build in Springfield. Weighing in on the issue, Congressman Richard Neal, who made a recent stop here in East Longmeadow. On a visit to the fire department, Congressman Neal spoke on the impending vote and the impact the eastern part of the state may have on those of us here in Western Mass.
Local communities ought to be able to determine their own destiny, understanding that there have been a series of referendum questions across the state. Some have been successful and some haven't, but not to second guess the judgment of the voter. And in this particular instance, you have a process that was underway, and I think that what's of interest to me is that process really stood up, and it was carefully monitored, carefully examined. The press did a thorough job of vetting the applications, and that's the role of the press. And I think in this instance as well, that it's conceivable that the controversy and dilemma in the eastern part of the state could have great impact on what happens here in the western part of the state.
You may recall voters approved the MGM Resorts International project back in July of 2013. In the referendum, 57.6% voted in favor, 42.4% did not. However, just this past June, the Supreme Judicial Court ruled that it would allow the voters to decide the fate of the state's 2011 Expanded Gaming Act. That vote will take place November 4th. So now, both sides of the casino issue are squaring off in a battle of public opinion. Recent polls suggest a slight edge to those in favor of maintaining the existing law. Congressman Neal says he does not have a crystal ball, but the numbers may speak for themselves.
I don't, but I can tell you this, and I won't delve into it beyond what I'm about to say. The polling data has remained pretty consistent.
Neal cautions, however, that while casinos do generate jobs, nothing can replace what he calls real economic development.
Here's the concern, I think. There's obviously a revenue issue, and there's some truth to what everybody says. There's obviously a revenue issue in terms of the dollars that go to Rhode Island and Connecticut and Maine, and not to miss the point that as a destination for a weekend, I think that places like Las Vegas have great attraction. You never want the casino to become a substitute for real economic development. And I know what real hard economic development is, and it's tough, particularly in an atmosphere where there's greater technological advances, which means that you need fewer people, you need more skill for the work that's in front of us, and the jobs that are coming about in this globalized economy are not the jobs that were created 50 years ago. So land use and energy and skill set are all part of the consideration. So I'd never want anybody to think you should be lulled into this sense of satisfaction or complacency about economic development, because the truth is that the jobs that are created, while helpful, will still not be a substitute for a whole host of new efforts in manufacturing, financial services, and education.
Again, the polls open November 4th. One of the oldest and largest physician groups in Western Mass is reportedly preparing to file for bankruptcy. According to a published report, Hampden County Physician Associates, a group that includes an urgent care and sleep center here in East Longmeadow, will in part join Mercy Medical Center. The published report, out this week, cites an anonymous source with apparent knowledge of the situation. Phone calls to both parties were not returned. Hampden County Physician Associates employs at least 24 healthcare practitioners. The report cites low reimbursement rates to doctors from insurance companies as part of the reason for filing. This year's flu season is already underway, according to the CDC, and already doctors' offices and local pharmacies are offering flu shot clinics in order to get people vaccinated. The push is on for the public to get their shots. The Public Health Commission in Boston reports 158 cases of influenza already this season, including 1 death. Local health officials encourage residents to get vaccinated by their primary care doctor, a health center, or a pharmacy. The CDC's recommendation is for everyone over 6 months old to receive the flu shot. The flu season usually peaks between December and February. However, it can begin as early as October and continue as late as May. The CDC says now is the best time to get vaccinated. October marks Breast Cancer Awareness Month here in East Longmeadow. Before the Spartans took the field for Friday Night Football, a special tribute honored cancer survivors, those who are in the fight, and those whose lives have been taken. Ariel Vernadakis was at the ceremony for ELCAT Sports.
Hi, I'm Ariel Vernadakis with ELCAT Sports. Tonight, October 3rd, is the first home game of October, marking the Pink Out and breast cancer awareness.
As you know, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Tonight, East Longmeadow would like to recognize local families affected by different types of cancer. These families represent a larger population of our community that have dealt with many different forms of this disease. Our first family is the Held family. Mr. Held was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. He is feeling well, is currently being monitored, and has not yet needed treatment. He is joined by his white cat and his sons Riley, Regan, and Aiden. Coming onto the field now is the Bates family. Mrs. Bates had stage 3 breast cancer, which took 6 surgeries for reconstruction. She is currently 5 years cured, and she is joined by her daughters Allison, Madison, and her nephew Anthony. The next family is the LaPlante family. Brielle LaPlante passed away on August 26, 2012, after a long battle with ALL leukemia. Mr. and Mrs. LaPlante could not be here tonight, but representing Brielle is her sister Jacqueline and family friends Tiana LaCorey and Beanie Mazza. East Longmeadow would now like to invite the Stark family onto the field. Andrew Stark was diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia in September of 2013. He is still undergoing treatment for the disease at the Sandowski Center for Children for the next 2 years. He is joined by his mom Julie, his sisters Charlotte and Emily. Poor dad is at work. Onto the field now is the Zane family. On February 25th, 2014, Jake Zane passed away from Ewing sarcoma cancer. Walking onto the field in honor of Jake, his mother, Melanie Boulier, and his 2 brothers, Joseph and Charlie Zane. And the last family is the Cronin family. Representing the Cronin family is Dave Cronin, Tom's brothers, Liam Skiffington and Matt Indomenico, as well as Paul Bradley and Matt Reed. Mrs. Cronin is a 2-time cancer survivor and is currently battling cancer for the 3rd time. Helping walk her out is son Tom. Please welcome Mrs. Cronin.
The last to take the field, East Longmeadow senior Tom Cronin and his mom, who, as you just heard, is battling cancer for the 3rd time. Tom organized the night's events. Job well done to Tom, and our best wishes to all the families. After the ceremony Friday night, the Spartans took the field against the Holyoke Purple Knights. The boys were looking for a much-needed win after a devastating loss against Central, and they got it. Colin Casey and Tony Santinello called the game for ELCAT Sports, and they have this wrap-up.
Back here at East Longmeadow High School, as the East Longmeadow Spartans defeat the Holyoke Purple Knights 40-13, and Mike Magipinto just had an amazing game.
Yeah, outstanding game, and we were talking about it throughout the telecast, breaking through the line of scrimmage, and he's just gone in a matter of seconds. We saw 1 run for 35, another one for 70, 4 touchdowns on the night. He's just very, very hard to get a hand on, let alone bring down.
And also with that, Tyler Maloney threw the ball exceptionally well throughout this game.
Yeah, he did. He a couple nice passes to Aiden Kennedy, a nice one downfield to Riley Held, another one to Richard Yu. He had a very nice game. Wasn't asked to do a ton, but when he was, he delivered. He's a solid quarterback for this team.
Coming up next week, the Spartans take on Putnam. Tony, how do you think they will fare in that game?
That's going to be an interesting game, very interesting game. Right here at home, as you mentioned, and Putnam's a solid team. So we'll see if the Spartans, they're going to need to bring their A game. They're going to have to not turn the ball over. We saw a couple turnovers tonight. We saw some miscues on snaps and extra points, things you don't want to have happen in big games. So they have to play a clean game to get by that one.
Spartans now 4-1. Back to you.
Again, the Spartans have their last home game of the regular season this Friday night against Putnam. It is also senior night. Kickoff is 7 p.m. Well, that will do it for us tonight. Thanks for watching ELCAT News Update. I'm May Randall. Until next time, good night.